G'day, g'day, and welcome to part 2 of our Q&A session with Casey and JoJo. We're back. Hi,
Hello,
Casey.
everyone. Hey, JoJo.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. I'm excited to do part 2. We got a great response from part 1. Just went live with that last night. Haven't had as many views as we'd like, unfortunately. So we're still shadow banned. So please help us out if you can. It's going to be our 1-year anniversary on the 19th of September. We would love to get to 30,000 subs by then.
That would be
a fun goal.
fantastic. 30,000 subs in 12 months. What an effort. I'm so glad that we've made it to this. I didn't ever expect that. Did you?
No, absolutely not. But if we
Never.
get
So
to
how
30,000
short? How
subs,
many
that'd
are
be
we
so
short?
exciting.
How many are we short right now?
I think we're at like 29,100 and something. So we need like another 900 and something subs.
So close. Okay.
In like 3 weeks.
We can do it. We can do it. Please, guys, share our stuff, get our content out there. We just need 900 more subscribers in a couple weeks, please.
That'd be cool.
That'll be so awesome.
Yes. Alrighty. Now, before we get started, we have to say thank you to our awesome fans.
Yay.
So this is Marissa and Deck, and they've got a Tartarian hoodie, Tartarian Truthers hoodie each on here at the wonderful Church of St. Patrick. Cool pics, huh?
Amazing. And I love that and I love that our followers or viewers like to go and take the pictures out in front of something that's anomalous or some sort of Tartarian type structure. It's awesome. I love it.
Very cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone who's supporting us through our merch store means so much to us.
I got my t-shirt on.
Oh, yeah, me too.
You got yours on?
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, guys, so let's get started, shall we? Okay, so our very first question is from Lance Duke. And Lance, g'day, mate. Our mate. He's helped us out in a few episodes in the past, so thank you so much.
And you've met him too. Didn't you meet him?
I have. He's actually my mate. We're friends now. We're good mates. So I'm really glad we did meet because we've seen each other now a couple of times, and we talk about a lot of different topics, and it's really great. I mean, I love meeting like-minded people, and it's been really, really good because we just help each other out, and we are able to give each other information, and he is a wealth of information. But he does have a question.
Yes, which I think he probably secretly knows the answer to.
I think so. He just wants us to answer it just in a more concise
way.
Yeah. So his question is, when did the Tartarian Empire begin? How expansive was it? What led to its collapse? And why has history covered it up? So all very, very good questions. And that's what we started our pages for, right? Because we want to figure it out too.
It's not that easy to figure out though, is it? Really?
No, it's not, especially if you are trying to research. It's all been quite hidden. And I think, remember from our last Q&A, we did talk a little bit about Tartaria starting circa 1300 and ending in the 19th century.
Yeah.
So what else to add there, Casey? Do we want to?
Well, how expansive was it? We don't really know. From old maps, that do have the area of Tartaria marked, it looks like it's really just the northern hemisphere, but we just don't know. It could have spread, worldwide for all we know. I mean, there are structures all over the world that look very, very similar in style, and even some of them are said to have been built in a time when, according to the mainstream historical narrative, these countries weren't in communication with each other.
Right.
So we're not sure how they're building all these buildings in the same styles if there was no communication.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
yes.
it could have spread much wider than what, these old maps show. We don't really know. And what led to its collapse and why has history covered it up? I would love to know those, the answers to those questions.
We would. And I think we we touched on this on one of our episodes, one of our early episodes, actually,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it was like our 4th episode in the Churches and Cathedrals of Australia episode.
Yep.
So yeah, we shared this little excerpt from a declassified CIA document, which was created in 1957. Your mouse is right on the screen, JoJo.
Is it? Sorry, I'll move that.
So yeah, did you want me to read this out?
I think so.
Or,
I think this deserves a read.
Or let us take the matter of history, which along with religion, language, and literature constitute the core of a people's cultural heritage. Here again, the communists have interfered in a shameless manner. For example, on the 9th of August 1944, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, sitting in Moscow, issued a directive ordering the party's Tatar Provincial Committee to proceed to a scientific revision of the history of Tartaria, to liquidate serious shortcomings and mistakes of a nationalistic character committed by individual writers and historians in dealing with Tatar history. In other words, Tatar history was to be rewritten. Let us be frank, was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to Great Russian aggressions and to hide the facts of the real course of Tatar-Russian relations. And this was no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians on orders of the Communist Party have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in a good light. Needless to say, histories which present the facts truthfully have been withdrawn and destroyed, so that the present and future generations of Muslims are forever denied the chance of learning the true facts of their nation's past. So that's quite telling, isn't it?
It sure is.
You know, they're admitting that, yes, they've falsified and destroyed this
history. Exactly.
So
yeah. So will we actually ever be able to find out? I mean, where would some of this information be, do you think, Casey? I think obviously somebody's got the information, possibly the Vatican, possibly
the Smithsonian,
any one of those types of organizations could possibly hold the answers. But you know, that's I guess that's all we can really present to everybody right now. That's all we have, right? But I think it's pretty telling. Next question.
Okay, Alex Cooper wants to know, could lichen be used as an indicator for the aging of Tartarian structures? So absolutely it could. I think we touched on this a little bit in our Gosford Glyphs episode, and lichens used to date things all over the world, historical, you know, monuments and megaliths and all the rest of it. And it definitely could be done here in Australia. I just don't think anyone has done it because, you know, they've been
because we're so young.
Our 230 odd year history, you know, so I guess they don't want to. But it would be great.
It would be awesome.
If anyone out there, you know, has the means of doing it, please get in touch.
Please do. We would love to know. Okay, Alex Cooper. Great question. Okay, so Georgia Donald asks, usually when I look at the 19th century, I wonder where all the people went. In Australia, I wonder where they came from. How many convicts traveled to Australia and why did the British government send so many children there, only stopping in the 1960s? So great question. The convicts were sent between 1788 and 1868, and more than 162,000 were transported to Australia. Of these, 7,000 arrived in 1833 alone. And now the convicts were ranged from British, Irish descent, and they were transported as punishment for crimes that they committed in those places. So
yeah, if we're going by the
official historical narrative.
Yeah. But yeah, so a lot of convicts were sent over, obviously. And then we also had the children. So this is one that we're going to dig into in a future episode, into the the child immigration schemes, and there's been a lot in Australia starting in the 1830s. And we did discuss it in our not very briefly, but we did discuss it in our orphanages, jails, female factories and asylums episode, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And that had a lot of views, Casey. That's like probably
people really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
People really enjoyed that episode. But basically the government, because the government have now apologized to these children who are now grown adults, well, basically from the 1960s, not so much the 1830 ones. But basically what it says, if you do research online, because there's been a massive inquiry into it, and they're just saying that it was a exercise in social engineering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're admitting
to
it being a social engineering experiment.
Pretty much, yeah. But there was so much more going on, I'm assuming, with what we know today with human trafficking and whatnot. But yeah, we'll dig a little deeper into that in a full-length episode specifically on child immigration to Australia. Yeah. Alrighty, next question from Shane Ingus. Have you expanded on the hidden truth of the existence of bunyips and yowies and the likes? I know one video you had the feeling of being watched when you were exploring in regional Australia. I know it's probably off topic, but yet another thing kept from us intrigued peeps.
Oh my gosh, I love this topic, Casey.
It is an interesting topic, and my husband is a little bit obsessed in yowies specifically. I don't really know much about the whole bunyip thing. I just know that they live more around the water and billabongs and things. I mainly know a little bit about the yowie just through my husband because he's obsessed. We actually have that book on the right there. And he saw one when he was younger, which is what made him
his obsession started from his so he's actually seen one. Okay.
Yeah, but at the time he didn't realize that it was one.
Wow.
He was driving home one night with his mates, and they were on like a long stretch of Appin Road. So it's like in the middle of nowhere, dark, late, and they all saw what they said at the time, a guy in a gorilla suit run across the road.
Wow. Okay.
And they were just like, oh, that's weird, huh? But then in retrospect, he was like, hang on a second, why would a guy dressed in a gorilla suit
be out in the middle of nowhere
in the middle of the night?
Wow.
And then
yes.
when he started researching yowies. So
did you really feel like you were being watched at one point, Casey?
Yeah, but I didn't think it was yowies.
Okay.
It was just a weird energy.
Sense, yeah.
That was at Butch Bin. Yeah. I didn't feel like yowies at the time. And Steve would have picked up on that. Because he's he's done a lot of, always listening to all the
podcasts and whatnot that are out there. Yeah.
And I know Drew from Missing the Point podcast, he's very much into yowies and bunyips and cryptids and stuff. So maybe we should do an episode with him one time.
Yes. Did you read that cryptids Instagram message I sent to you about how it's possible that
in America they're sending people out into the woods specifically to get eaten and to feed the cryptids.
And not only that, they intentionally sell clothing that's bright colored.
Right. Yeah. And encourage them not to take guns.
That's
a wild conspiracy theory.
Isn't it? I tell you what, that's just so weird to me. And when I just came across that this week, I had to share it with you because I was like, this is too weird. Like we love weird stuff, but this just takes it to another level of
weird.
All right. I think we covered that one. Next question.
Yeah. Well, basically, because he's saying, do we think that they're real? I think they're real.
Oh,
absolutely.
I think they're real. Yep. I agree. I think they're real. Yep.
All right. Next one. Are you going to read that?
No, you can go ahead and read that one. Oops.
Okay. We always get out of order somehow, JoJo.
I know, sorry. That's my fault.
All right. Okay, Archie Bars wants to know, would love to hear any theories you may have regarding what and how the mud flood occurred. Much love to all. Okay, so we have done an episode on mud flood, which we called Mud Flood Australia. So feel free to go and check that out for more detailed information. But did you want to go, JoJo?
Yeah, well, Casey, I'm just thinking, you might remember, well, we basically know that there's more than 3 theories, but the 3 theories that we talk about the possibility of a direct energy weapon of sorts that could have caused a massive mud flood, some sort of solar flare, perhaps, or multiple simulated earthquakes. And, you know, this is the solar flare, image here. And possible earthquakes. And looking all over the world right now, can you not see like mud floods happening? There's mud floods happening in Pakistan right now.
Massive floods, yeah.
Massive floods there. We've had mass floods here recently.
Yeah.
It's almost as though all nations have had mass floods.
Lots of weather events happening all over the world recently. Yeah, so.
But we don't really know, do we, Casey?
No, we don't. We don't know. We suspect, that, it may have been a planned attack, whichever one of those it was. It may have been planned. People often ask like when it happened as well. And some theorize that it could have been as little as 150 years ago, give or take 50 years. But it's hard to know because our timeline, has been changed. It's been altered. So we don't even know what year it really is, right?
Exactly.
In reality. But yeah, I think looking around at Australia, there's some pretty hardcore evidence, which we kind of show in our episode, that there's been some kind of cataclysmic event here including mud.
Yep. Agreed. And we have so many buildings that appear to be buried,
Buried. Yeah.
So that's what really started us anyway, right? Like really just looking at these buildings, trying to make sense of why they needed to build underground.
Falls under the ground.
Under the ground. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else to that question? Or
no, I think that's it.
That's good. Yeah, just go check out our episode. That covers most of it. Okay, imagined authority. Yes, please. What are your thoughts on Australia being essentially the only place without megalithic work, according to the mainstream? Do you think that Australia perhaps had some truly spectacular megalithic work that was purposely destroyed, and perhaps the scale or grandeur was on a par with the lack of anything today? Did I read that right? The scale of grandeur was on par with the lack of anything today, i.e. they have worked harder in Australia to hide our true history than almost anywhere else.
All right. Yes.
All
right. And then we're kind of lumping these questions together. So Charlotte Tomlinson said Australia was hit pretty bad with mud floods around 1902. So it's possible there are structures underground not yet uncovered. Also, there was the Mullumbimby Stone Circle that was sadly destroyed. Not sure which lith category that would fall under. So,
okay, so that was a little bit of a 2-part question there that we covered the mud flood earlier.
Yeah, but they're both about liths, right? Both about megaliths.
Well, I think we have megaliths all over Australia.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, like, they're just not actually classed as megaliths, are they?
No, they won't. That's not. They just don't want to. No, it
doesn't fit our narrative, well, their narrative. But apparently, there's some around Byron Bay, and I remember when I met Zach down in Bendigo, he was telling me about some that were in Colac in Victoria that were taken down. They were removed and taken away and used to build some government building somewhere. I can't remember. I have to try and get that story off him.
Yeah, that's so sad though, and I believe that that's probably happened to a lot of megaliths around Australia. And this one here is stone circles. And this is near Mount Elephant Station. Is that right?
Yeah. So the story, I found this online, and the stone, so this is the bit of information that come with it. So the stone circle at Mount Elephant Station was on someone's grazing run in 1842. And then in 1847, a new family, the Churnside family, bought the land and took them down and used them in the construction of farm buildings. But apparently, I've heard other stories as well that the government actually pays farmers to remove and destroy different rock formations and things that's on their land. So I don't know if it's still happening today, but apparently it was happening in, the early 1900s, late 1800s. And then we've got things like this, JoJo.
Yeah. This is just natural formation. It's just natural.
This is the devil's marbles. And they're crazy.
They're huge too.
Huge, massive. And yeah, just totally
less documented here in Australia, and look at this one. It's obviously had a strike of sorts. Split down the middle.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Australia definitely has megaliths. They're just not recognized as megaliths because that wouldn't work.
Because Australia.
Yep. It's only 233 years old. That's a lie. No, it's very old. Our First Nations people have been here for a very, very long time.
Yeah, that's true. All right, next question.
All right, we had a few similar questions to this one from Nassim Kershaw. So his question was, or her question, sorry. My question is, how does one replicate the old Tartarian technology to help everyone's life? And if I knew, I would do it. I absolutely would do it.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there are people that know. Actually, we did touch on this a little bit, didn't we?
We didn't Nikola Tesla, did we? Yes.
On the energy of the old world. Remember that when you were researching, JoJo, you found that tower, that modern day.
Yes, the one in the States.
Yeah.
Yes, there are definitely companies out there researching and trying to figure it out too. But I think it's going to be suppressed because there's no money in it. Okay,
no money in free energy.
There is no money in it. So this is why it is going to be suppressed for as long as it can. But the more people wake up, the more we can expose the truth, and hopefully it will come to to be. And honestly, when I first started my page on Instagram, I had one guy hounding me like as if I knew the answer, but I'm like, sorry, dude, I'm just housewife, mate, just trying to figure out, just like you, I'm no one special, but we are definitely interested. So
and we got a lot of actually a bit of flack from our energy of the old world episodes, because people are saying, Tesla's not even a real person, he's a psyop, and
that's right. Yeah, Edison is, well, look, we don't know. We have no idea.
I feel like we're saying that a lot.
I know, today we don't know.
But we don't. We just have a lot of questions, and you should too. You should question what we've been taught and what we've been told, because
and that's why we put together the episodes that we do, because we want people to start thinking. We want everyone to start thinking outside the box, and just critical thinking has gone out the window this generation, and we need it back. So yeah,
definitely.
All right, next question.
Alrighty, that's you with Bandit Buster.
Hey, Bandit Buster. Hi, ladies. In the UK, but love your work. Really interesting stuff. But please, in caps, can you change the word shmishmation? It bugs the effing S out of me. It also sounds a bit childish and detracts from all the other great information you guys are putting out. Keep up the good work. Love your show. Cheers.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. Yeah.
Sorry,
mate. If you don't know what yeah, nah means, you can take a little read there.
We appreciate that you like all of our good work, but we really like the word.
No, we love it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are interested in a Shmish and Suck tote bag, you can find one on our merch at our merch store, which we will include a link at the below. But this is just a shameless plug for you. You are interested.
Love it.
Oh dear. Anyway, no, we're not going to stop saying that. But we've been told not to say it because, you know, we might get shadow banned. We're shadow banned anyway.
No, we got told not to say the real word.
The real word. That's right.
So that's why we made up that word. But we're still being shadow banned anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So shmishmation it is.
Yeah. Alrighty, next question. Erlana Townsend. Tasmania used to be connected to Australia. Have any underwater ruins been found between them?
I've never looked into this question. What a great question.
Yeah,
I can imagine maybe, yes, if there are.
I've done a bit of digging and I couldn't find anything, but I don't think that they would probably publicize it.
No.
Because like the amount of insane old world architecture in Tassie and like the remnants of old, giant trees and stuff. Imagine the stuff that, if they did find in that Bass Strait.
In Bass Strait? Yeah.
It would be insane. But it's also really cold down there too. So I don't know how many people, would dive
deep
down. But it would actually be a really good place to explore. Like, how they did the underwater cameras and stuff for the Titanic.
Yes.
Imagine doing that like down in
That'd be so cool. That's like a dream of mine to get in one of those boats. You know, those boats, they look like the submarines, but they're the ones the explorers use.
I could never do that. I get like claustrophobic just watching people scuba dive.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
I can't even deal. I don't know.
But, if anybody's out there and wants to, please do and let us know.
Yeah. Because I think there would definitely be some amazing stuff in the bottom of the ocean.
And people say they find stuff at the coastlines. Like, can you imagine then if the coastlines have so much hidden as well? Like, imagine what's hidden.
And there's heaps of stuff that people are finding, like even recently, like after tsunamis and stuff, things, people find stuff and lost cities and massive statues. I think you shared something the other day in your Instagram story where that man found those massive,
yes,
like full life-size bronze
statues. Yep.
From, I don't know, it was like from the Roman
times. Yeah,
it was crazy. But anyway, I'm
sure that's happening all the time anyway, but we just don't have any people going and exploring much of Australia because it's almost not allowed. But
yeah, and plus it would be to get funding to do that.
It would be massive
through all those government channels, and the government's not going to let you do that.
No. Okay.
Right, next
question. Corby Sloan. It seems like orphans were shuffled around the world during times of war to replace populations. Do you guys already have a video on orphan trains? And no, we don't. But we did touch on orphanages, like we mentioned earlier in our jails, female factories, and orphanages and asylums episode. And we are going to expand on each one of those in the future.
Because we didn't have orphan trains in Australia. We had orphan ships, basically.
Yep.
Orphans were shipped over. So, yeah, under the guise of child immigration schemes. So we were all indentured labor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when we do that more detailed episode, we will, delve a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
All right. I think this one came from Insta, this question, but I didn't get the name. What do you think are the reasons for keeping some Tartarian buildings and not others? Are they planning to reuse the tech in another age or to mock the sheep that are asleep? I'm not sure myself.
Great question.
It is a great question. And
What do you think? Well, I think the reason that they did bring down a lot of them was because they were probably damaged and couldn't repair them, firstly. And then, yeah, removing all the tech, who knows if they actually want to reuse this tech in the future? Is that the question? Yeah. So I don't
think
know,
I
Casey. It's
honestly
so
think
hard to know.
I think they're still utilizing the tech, but they've just modernized it. Like, did you see yesterday when I was in Brisbane and I shared that image, that video of that building?
Oh, yes.
My story.
Yes.
Like, what? I don't understand why these massive skyscrapers need these big aerial looking things off the roof, and these strange, like that building that I recorded yesterday looked like a giant speaker.
Yes, it
So,
did.
and we still have like so many buildings with spires and towers and things, but they're just modernized now, so they don't look like they did back in the day. So how
Right.
do we know that they aren't actually harnessing free energy and
And then
utilizing
just
it,
utilizing and
but
just charging
still
us.
charging us? You know, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Because that was a kind of a two-part question, wasn't it? Keeping some,
Yeah.
not others.
And,
Yeah,
you
and
know, and are they going to use it for a new age? That's a funny question because it's like, was it, so the past utilized this in our theories is the past they utilized this technology. Then I honestly think that they were unable to repair a lot of it. And there are probably people that can use it, like,
I was just going to say they destroyed some of them purely just to hide the evidence. They didn't want, because people are going to question, you know, when, like now we're questioning, how was that built? You know,
yeah, in that time, horse and
yeah,
carriage.
that's right.
Right.
And the ones that are still standing now, these, you know, extravagant structures that we're told were built with horse and buggy in like the, you know, mid to late 1800s, are now all heritage listed. You know, so
Yep.
there's no more, you know, kind of exploring or testing, or, you know, can we test the age of these bricks or whatever? Like
Right.
there's nothing now. It's like everything's protected and given a story.
As
And
always, as
yeah,
always.
that's right. So I guess, yeah, we kind of answered that question
Yeah.
in a roundabout way.
Yeah. But again, yeah, thank you for your question. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Gibson Les Paul. When did the mud flood happen? I think there's been more than one, with the most recent being around the mid 1700s. Australia was known as Brasilia, east, and New Guinea, west, before the 1600s, according to the Urbano Monte map of 1587, and became known as New Holland. Tasmania is still joined to the mainland. Interesting. At some point during the 1600s, this may have been the time after a major catastrophe where the Tartars built brand new cities only to be wiped out by months of heavy rain causing the mud floods. By the end of the 1700s, we get the Captain Cook story, with the new name now being Australia, Tasmania now separated from the mainland. I'm sure that gold became widely exposed from the deluge and was the real reason for the gold rushes that happened all over the realm, starting in 1848 and ended around 1898. Ended around 1899. Whoa.
So much information there.
So
And
good. So
I did
good.
not know that Australia was known as Brasilia.
Nor did I. That's the first I heard that
I've
too.
not heard that, and I haven't seen the Urbano Monte map of 1587 where that's stated. So we'll need to look into that.
I like his theory though.
Yeah,
I love
me
it.
too. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just rereading it. Sorry, that's why I'm.
Yeah, no, I feel like this is spot on, to be fair. I think
It's just making me think, JoJo, about, and we were talking about this the other day because I can't find anything more on it. So a couple of years ago, when I still listened to the radio before it got ridiculous, I was listening to Dr. Carl on Triple J, and someone rang up and asked, I can't even remember what the question was now because I just remember his answer because it just stuck in my mind. But I remember him saying that from when Captain Cook first discovered Australia in 1770. And, you know, he drew the coastline maps, whatever, took them back to England. They decided they were going to start a colony there, and he gave the maps to Port Phillip. When Port Phillip got here, the coastline was completely different, and he couldn't find where Captain Cook had told him to land the ships. And apparently it was because in between the time that Captain Cook had last been there and when Captain Phillip arrived, there'd been a tsunami, and it had significantly changed the coastline.
Wow.
Right? So, but I cannot find anything about that. I do not know where Dr. Carl got that piece of information from, because I can't find it anywhere.
That's massive. And
online.
to hear it again here, that there was a potential tsunami, right?
No, well, yeah, they said a major
catastrophic event, or I mean,
yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, a tsunami would make sense, right?
That's right. A tsunami fits into that category and into that time frame as well.
Wow.
And yeah, in regards to the gold, yeah, gold may have become widely exposed, and you know, could have been the reason for the gold rushes to have started, which we kind of discussed in our gold rush episode as well. You know, what is gold? Where did the gold come from? Is it actually, you know, the buried remnants of past civilizations that they're digging up?
We've often thought that, haven't we, Casey?
You have. But at the same time, we know that the Egyptians were coming and mining gold here way back when, you know. So my brain hurts sometimes.
My brain hurts too, Casey. It's so much. But they're all good questions, and everything that we've ever kind of speculated. I mean, this Gibson Les Paul, thank you. That's such a great question and such a great theory. I think we've got to look a little bit more into this tsunami or this catastrophic event.
Yeah, definitely.
What a great picture this is too, by the way. This isn't Australia though, is it? Where is this?
No, unfortunately it's not. It's Europe somewhere.
It's Europe somewhere. But again, this is what I'm imagining the Europeans coming upon when they arrived in Australia. This is what I imagine.
And then they got to work digging, renovating. Alrighty, next question. And we're out of sync again, so I'll read it. Mr. T wants to know, why do you think there isn't more proof in terms of leftover artifacts floating around from the New Holland days, things that would have a date on them, like a plate depicting a city from 1650, etc.? Would there be a team of people buying them up and withholding or destroying them if and when they end up at an antiques dealer's, similar to the destruction of the pillars of the Macquarie Lighthouse cliff entrance in your video?
Great question.
So, yeah, I reckon there are
artifacts. Sorry, Casey, go ahead.
But there's nothing really with a date. I think if we go to the next image, there is some pictures of artifacts that have been found, kind of out of place artifacts, whoopers, in Australia.
And these look much older though, Casey. Like, I've seen plates and kind of remnants similar to that photo in the bottom there, with depictions of like Holland, like really like windmills and all that sort of thing, and they were found underneath buildings during construction. So like they were doing renovation at St. Vincent's Hospital, and inside, right at the foyer, they have these big glass display cabinets that show some of these artifacts. There's no date on them, but the pictures depicted on the plates and on these vases, they look to be from that time and place. And I'm not saying it was brought over. I'm saying it was already here. You know, these things were found deep underground.
And that's the thing. I think if anything is found deep underground in Australia that doesn't fit the narrative, it would just be hidden, pushed aside,
destroyed.
And the things that are found, they would just say, oh yeah, this is from, you know, the late 1700s, early 1800s. They're not going to admit. And unfortunately, a lot of our archaeologists and historians, you know, they've been taught that this timeline is the only true timeline for Australia. So they're not going to think anything of it. They're not going to question anything. Or if they do, they get shut down. you know, I've watched actually a couple of documentaries, not so much pertaining to Australia, but New Zealand, where they've found evidence of, you know, artifacts that absolutely blow New Zealand's history out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And so that site just got, the very next day, that site was shut down. All funding was withdrawn, and that was the end of that. You know, so who's to say that kind of stuff isn't happening here in Australia as well? It's not going to be publicized, is it?
No, it's not. And we've also heard, Casey, from people in construction in the US, for example, they've stopped taking out any out of place artifacts from their construction sites. They just continue building. They don't even stop anymore, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So that's super disheartening, right?
Well,
and I'm certain that's happened to you.
That recently happened.
Oh, yes.
Shared that video on Instagram. They did it in Melbourne.
Yep.
So they've discovered the foundations of these old buildings. They're saying from, you know, early 1800s, but they found artifacts in them from the 1600s. But, you know, that was kind of not elaborated on. But then they're building over it. They've dug up the artifacts, but they're building over the foundations, and, you know, it's going to be all covered up.
As always, cover it up.
Always happens.
Doesn't fit the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this next question is from Norma Wingo. Are these beautiful wasted buildings on every continent? Did they all have giant humans among them? Did they all speak one language? Why were they killed? Did they exclusively use free energy? When in history was this really? Like, that's a good question. We don't know. We've already said that. And how skewed is our timeline? Super skewed. Sorry.
Yeah.
And all yes, right. They are on every continent, these buildings.
Yeah, pretty much. They could even be on Antarctica under the ice. Who knows? No one's allowed to bloody well go there.
No.
Did they all have giant humans among them?
Yes.
I think so. There's so much evidence, and there's evidence all over the world of giant bones being found and giant graves. And our mate Gil,
yep,
where there were some giant graves here in Australia.
In Queensland.
Unfortunately, we didn't get that information from him before he sadly passed away earlier this year, which is heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't know. Did they all speak one language? Why were they all killed? Did they exclusively use free energy? We assume that they used free energy, you know, from looking at the structures and how they're built, you know, regarding harnessing the ether and making free energy from it. And how skewed is our timeline? We really don't know. Some people say that they've added 1,000 years, you know. So once again, we don't know, Norma. We wish we knew. A lot of people.
Don't worry, we're getting close. We're getting close, Casey, with more questions. We are getting closer to some answers, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes my brain feels like it's just going to explode because I want to know all the answers, and, you know, there's so many different things going around in my mind, but we'll never really know. No one, you know, no one really will ever exactly, you know the exact truth, unfortunately. We can only speculate and surmise.
Exactly. All right, next question.
All right, Nick T wants to know, have you two ladies heard of archaics or seen his video, Pre-Flood Marsupials of a Forgotten Continent? Love your work. Thanks, Nick. We have heard of archaics. Everyone's talking about him at the moment. Everyone's sending us his videos all the time.
And I just actually watched a quick, brief interview of his with Tartaria Australia with Campbell and Kelly just this morning. So that was very interesting. I've only watched 20 minutes of it, sorry, because we were getting on to record. But yeah, he does mention marsupials briefly in that talk. So, but I have not watched this particular episode.
I've watched this one. It's pretty good. Like he's very informative. He has a vast knowledge base. He's done a lot of reading. And he retains that information so well, which is, he's very incredible to listen to. Yeah, so this was an interesting episode that he did. Although I did pick up on one thing that didn't. He said that we had lemurs in Australia, and I'm pretty sure we don't have lemurs in Australia. But yeah, I've watched a few of his other episodes and different interviews he's done with other channels as well. He's just got so much content. Like, I don't know where to start sometimes. Like, he talks about some of his old stuff that he was uploading for years before he kind of like blew up. And I go back to that and I don't even know where to start. But I like his theories about the whole simulation, living in a simulation, and the cycles, the 138-year cycles. I'm looking forward to 2040. Aren't you, JoJo?
I sure am.
Like,
not really, but we're gearing up for it. At least we're prepared.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's where we stand with our Kates. He's a very interesting man. And I need to go and watch Kelly and Campbell's interview with him as well.
Yes, definitely. I'm gonna have to catch up too and watch a few of his episodes. I've only heard good things. So and since most of our viewers also subscribe to him, I think I should check him out. Or look more into him anyway. So all right, the next question is there any evidence of Tartarian artifacts architecture in the middle of Australia? Alice Springs, for example. Oh, Casey, this story.
We actually brought this up in our very, very first episode we did. So this was apparently a fake and it was all debunked, but they said that a 15-year-old ancient civilization was found. It had crystal, bowls and all these extravagant artifacts dug up, and everyone was going nuts about it. But then it was shut down. Like we were just talking before when we talked about artifacts, things just get shut down. Oh no, it was a fake. It wasn't real. I have a feeling it probably was real. There would be so much hidden under Australia's vast deserts,
But they're protected, so
a lot of them are protected by national parks or they're sacred sites for our First Nations people. So, it's not like amateur archaeologists like us, for example, would be able to go and just start digging around and finding the truth. Although I know from watching a lot of Stephen and Evan Strong's videos, they've come across some pretty interesting artifacts and things out in the desert and in, remote parts of Australia. Whether or not they're Tartarian, like we've said previously, we don't know how far Tartaria, and its people spread south. It could be Tartarian, it could be a totally different civilization that we don't even know about, that came south from Antarctica. So,
or even pre-existing here already on this continent. We don't know. Like,
we do not know.
But yes, I believe that there are lots of lost cities all over this great land.
Yeah, and there could very well be some in the middle of the desert, definitely.
This is our last question, Casey, and it's pretty massive.
Yeah, I reckon let's just
summarize it. Do you want to quickly summarize it?
Okay, basically they're just asking what our stance is on on religion. So do we have a relationship with God? Do you have faith in Christ? Are you loving, fearing women? Yeah. So basically that, how do you see religion applying to the Tartarian narrative? So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised Catholic. And fell apart, I would say, fell away from kind of organized religion for the last 20 years, I would say, and only recently returned. And I would say I am a God-fearing woman.
Yeah, so I did not grow up with religion at all, except for, Tuesday afternoons in primary school doing Church of England scripture. Like we didn't go to church. I occasionally went to Sunday school because the Salvation Army was on the corner of our street. And so my dad would send me up on Sunday mornings to go to Sunday school. And it was just a bit of fun. Like I seriously don't even remember very much at all. And then for pretty much my whole adult life, I've been very New Age, very much into crystals, meditation and angel cards and all that kind of stuff. And then just last year, I was really kind of woken up to the fact that in fact is another psyop. So now I'm kind of struggling, because then I started looking into, the Bible and reading the Bible. And so, like I said, I'm not christened or baptized. I'm not in any way with any specific religion, but I brought a Bible and I started looking into it. Now I'm really torn, kind of between, because I'm getting people telling me religion's a psyop and it's just a form of control and indoctrination. And then, people are telling me that New Age is a psyop. And so I'm really just trying to get my head around all of that at the moment.
I think we both are, because we just of late, I think we've been exposed to new information. And again, this is us. This is pretty much our style. Every time we are presented with new information, we have every right to change our opinion or view.
You've got to,
and that's not a bad thing.
Information, we process that information and we take things from it, and then that helps to guide our decisions on, how we feel about a certain topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
And is there another part to this question, Casey, about the possible, like we've talked about, the possible the reign of Christ, the 1,000-year reign of Christ, and that we are possibly right now fulfilling revelation and prophecy,
and
right?
And we're in the time of Satan.
In time of Satan.
Oh, I believe that.
I believe that too.
No, you just look around everywhere and there's just evil. It's just not even hidden anymore. It's just evil everywhere, So yeah, religion's always a loaded question.
It is. That's why you don't talk about, what is it? You don't talk about religion and politics, right?
And politics, yeah.
But here we are, we talk about all of it.
Yeah. Why not? But anyway, yeah, that's our stance.
Yeah.
Kind of, we don't really know.
Yeah, but I can tell you, I definitely, I do pray. I know there is a higher power, and I have all respect for anyone's their upbringing and their religious beliefs. Everyone's entitled to their own. So
that's right. That's one thing that I do not like really about religion, is that each religion is very kind of like it's that their way is the only way.
Yeah. And it does cause a lot of divide, doesn't it?
Yeah. I guess for me, it's just like, how can only one person's way be, like one religious group's way be the only way? There's so many different religions and so many people in the world, and all of them think that theirs is the only one.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, yeah, that's where I stand on religion.
Yep.
All right. So that is it. That was our last question. We ended on the tricky one. But we've really enjoyed answering all of your questions, and thank you for sending them all in. And thanks for the suggestions that we got as well when we asked for the questions for this episode. So like we said, we're going to use them for future content. But yeah, it was lovely, I guess, answering all of your questions and connecting with you all. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This has been a lot of fun, and also have us questioning our own beliefs and stance. I think we've had it's kind of put us in an interesting position. But thank you, everybody. It has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Till next week, stay tuned. We have a really great episode coming up next week. I hope you all enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you, JoJo.
See you, Casey.
Archaeologists have uncovered hidden treasures that shine a light on our past in the heart of the city. Relics and architecture from Melbourne's booming gold era have been discovered during excavation work to make way for a modern tower.
Thanks so much to our boots on the ground Van Wolfactor for showing us a window into the past, exposing a long-gone society buried under our streets. It's said to be a buried landscape on Bennett's Lane in Victoria, showing an outline of cottages and businesses said to date back to the 1840s. I wonder. Thanks for this footage, Van. You're awesome.